After a very high rate of vaccination, the situation of COVID-19 seems to have settled a little in the UK. The lockdown is lifted. As we are deeper in spring, the flowers start blooming. It feels like we are out of danger temporarily. Although everyone hopes that permanent safety can be reached, I'm not certain about it. I'm in the crucial stage of doing my final project. After a difficult time of making my decision, I decided to make a documentary film about the pandemic because I think as a media student, my research should focus on a topic which is most concerned by all people. Now, having read a large number of theses by scholars and experts of media studies, I noticed that some of them have paid great attention to the function of the social media platforms during the pandemic. Although it's a very challenging topic, I have made up my mind to take the challenge. I work hard day and night, reading articles, arranging filming activities. Although there is a feeling the danger of the virus is going away gradually, whenever I reflect on what happened in the last 12 months, I still feel a chill on my back. In the last month of the year of 2019, in a very large city right in the middle of China, the most populated country in the world, the unexpected outbreak of a plague quietly arrived, very possibly months before December. The virus has sneaked in and got a number of people infected. Yet still, the origin of the virus has not been identified. A place that has received intense investigation is the food market in the city of Wuhan, where wild animals were sold as a source of meat, animals including the turtles and the bats. An investigation conducted by the World Health Organization in Wuhan has given a report to the whole world. But the mystery of the virus origination is still hanging on. What people do know is that the virus quickly spread from Wuhan to all cities of China, and from China to the entire world. It became the worst pandemic in history, and we are still living in the dark shadow of the deadly plague which is named by WHO as COVID-19. A few months after the outbreak of the virus in Wuhan, the UK confronted the first wave of the pandemic. A lockdown was conducted. Shops, restaurants, theaters, and schools were closed. I began to attend my classes online, suffered from severe symptoms of depression, along with an irresistible skin illness. I moved to London for getting better treatment from my doctor.
May we have your attention, please? This train will no longer call.
These were miserable days. The depression grew stronger and stronger inside me. I felt terrible. I couldn't concentrate on my work. At night, I suffered from continuous insomnia. But I had to struggle to catch up with the online lectures given by my tutors and to get my coursework written on time. And I always felt the dangerous air of the plague hanging around me. It did not help at all to get me rid of my depression. Whenever I felt unbearably depressed, I roamed in the quiet streets. I was wondering how the other people are coping with the lockdown and with loneliness. Mr. Nigel Hansen is an old English gentleman. I have known him for years. I first met him at a friend's home, and we became good friends. He helped me many times when I needed. He lives on the other side of the river. He is the first person I invited to my flat after the lockdown is lifted. When we talked, I asked him my questions. Questions including, did the social media help you during the pandemic? What social media do you use? Why?
Do you want to know why I like it?
Yeah, of course.
Well, for one thing, it actually gives me a chance to express what I think.
Yeah.
And since nobody's interested in what I think normally, I have an audience out there that doesn't frown, and it doesn't smile, it doesn't do anything. And so far, sometimes they like one of my observations. And I find it psychologically good to be able to express yourself to the world.
The first week after the lockdown, I took a train to the Midlands and went to see my university. I missed it so much. Although I was not yet allowed to enter my classroom, I stood outside the main entrance of the university, watching the door. I felt very emotional. I went to the house I used to stay at. I walked in the town, remembering the good old days before the pandemic. I revisited the great cathedral. Harry is my old flatmate. For me, he is not only a flatmate. He is like an old brother. Whenever I had a problem, he helped me. He has moved to Leamington by now. Knowing I would come, he had invited me to his new home to have a chat. When we talked, my questions about the function of the social media were raised again.
Okay, so at the beginning of the pandemic, I think in UK, there's not much happening, but from social media, I know from WeChat and the friend circle from China, and the situation is really serious and bad. So I understand a bit more, but lot of my local friends, they didn't realize how serious the situation was.
Is there a relation between the social media information and the change of your healthy behavior? If there is, what is it?
Yeah, I remember during the pandemic, and we work from home, and so there's big reduce on the outdoor exercise, and from look at the social media on Facebook, our friends was following insanity workout. So it's one of the workout you can do at home. So I found that that's very interesting. So I started to follow that.
Philip has been teaching at Coventry University for 30 years. As he is a good friend of my aunt, I know him well. I also visited his home in Leamington. I asked him the same questions about social media.
I do use all of the things that you mentioned. I use WeChat, I use WhatsApp, I use Twitter, I use telephone, I use Facebook, but I don't actually actively use it. I don't use Instagram, I don't use TikTok, and I do use email, but I don't know whether you mean email is social media. And the difference is that I use WeChat for my Chinese friends and students. I use WhatsApp for most of the others. I use email for university business, so I can file it and maintain records. And I use phone calls for my friends mainly, but often through WeChat or WhatsApp because it's free. I use high quality media outlets to get my news and my information. I do use YouTube. But I'm very choosy about who I watch because a lot of it's bullshit, rubbish.
Police.
Yeah, Donald Trump is a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Boris Johnson. What I really want to know is what's really behind what they're saying, not what they say, because what they say is to get votes. But what I want to know is why they're doing it. Donald Trump did it to try and get re-elected. And he fortunately failed.
On my way back to London, I was still thinking about what Philip said to me.